Thank you for the opportunity to present more information about Madison's plan to move to later start times for our middle school students. This presentation was presented to our Board of Education in early March of 2018 and helps explain the journey we are on. We've updated to include recent information on our proposed plan. We believe that we have a plan that is workable and will improve outcomes in several areas for our middle school students. As you may know, Madison parents have asked the school board for the past several years to change the middle school start time, which is currently at 7:35 a.m. Parents have asked for a later start time, no earlier than 8:30 a.m., which is recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Our school board started looking more closely at this in June of 2016. We conducted 2 district-wide parent surveys which supported moving the start times later for middle school students. The last time start times were adjusted in MMSD was back in 2002 when we went to a late start and early start times for the 32 elementary schools. You can review the survey results on our website, mmsd.org/changing-start-times. We updated the board again in March 2017 and were asked to explore how we might make a successful transition to a later start time for middle schools. Madison Metro Transit currently transports almost all of our middle school students. We have had a long-time partnership with Metro and approached them early in the process. Unfortunately, Metro is currently at capacity. They are not meeting the demands they currently have and are not able to expand their service areas where they've been requested to, such as Epic and outlying communities that they would like to service. Because they are at capacity, Metro could only offer to switch the middle schools with our high schools. Metro currently uses the same buses to first transport middle school students and then high school students. Switching middle and high school students was not workable, as it would simply transfer the issue we are trying to solve to the high schools. We then developed a situation in which would have had our district yellow buses do triple runs for our early start elementary schools, our late start elementary schools, and then our middle schools, which would then start at 9:15. While a parent supported a later start time, a dismissal time of 4:15 and a start time at 9:15 a.m. were just too late. As mentioned before, the main push to change our start times was from our middle school parents. There are a number of benefits cited in studies on start times. They include better health, attendance, improved achievement, and behavior. Some would argue that if the start time is moved to an hour later, that students will only go to bed an hour later. Schools that have made the change and conducted further research have found this is simply not true. In fact, more students report getting at least 8 hours of sleep with a later start time. What's new in the research? Well, an increasing number of schools and school districts are adjusting their start times, both large and small districts. Schools that have changed their times continue to report positive results and report other benefits not anticipated, such as increased participation in after-school activities. And finally, schools that have changed their start times report that the anticipation of the change is more difficult than the actual change, and that families and schools quickly settle into a routine shortly after the school year starts. Why are we doing this? As mentioned before, the main catalyst for making this change was our middle school parents. Other reasons include safety. There will be fewer students will be out in the dark than before, mostly because we have a 15-minute later start time than our previous early start time, which will move to 7:50. In addition, there will be more elementary students who would be out, where parents are much less likely to have their children be unattended than middle school students. Another positive that we see is our middle school students would be transported by yellow bus, a move supported by parents and schools. We see an improved level of service. If you currently live 1.5 miles or more from the school and you qualify for free or reduced lunch, you are provided a bus pass by the district. With this proposed change in moving students to yellow buses, any student living more than 1.5 miles will be offered bus service. Finally, for our middle schools, a consistent Monday schedule where they will have early release every Monday. Most parents and students and nearly half of staff believe a later middle school start time would make morning routines easier, and a few believe it would have no impact at all. Let's take a look at how our proposed plan really looks. Please note along the left side of this slide the future and current label. The current refers to where we are at right now, and the future is where we would be at the end of the transition plan. Here are a couple things to note. First of all, remember, there is a transition year. During that year, we will have a host of work to complete, from working with our after-school providers to ensuring food and nutrition can meet the needs that our new schedule creates, and also making sure that every detail is worked out with our families, schools, and staff. You can see that when we have the plan complete, we will have all middle schools start at 8:40. We are really excited to see this come to fruition. You can also see that 12 of our elementary schools will move to an earlier start time. We know that we currently have 21 schools that start between 7:35 and 7:45. When this is complete, we will have 23 schools that start at 7:50. So we know there will be adjustment. We also know that we'll be able to rely on each other to help work out the details and believe that it can work. This slide shows the dismissal times, again with the future being at the end of the transition plan. And you can see that our schools would let out at 2:47 at the elementary at the end of the transition plan, 3:37 for late start elementary schools, and 3:52 for our middle schools. It was felt that having middle schools start before 9 and end before 4 was really the margin of time we were looking at to be successful with this move. Transportation in MMSD is very complex. In short, we are taking the Metro Dodgers that serve our middle schools and moving to transport our students to school using yellow school buses. To accommodate the students, we will be adding some routes for yellow buses, and as you know, moving some of our late start elementary schools to early start times. It's very complex. Everything is interrelated, and changing one school affects the entire system. Our school board is always conscious of cost. We are expecting the move to cost us up to $660,000 when it's all complete. The good news is that our transportation department has been excellent at managing our transportation budget, and we believe we can absorb the additional costs without additional revenue. This is really great news. We do anticipate that there will be some additional costs to MSCR as they expand after-school care options for families. This slide illustrates that we are planning a very gradual implementation plan. That move is very deliberate. Our transportation plan is complex. We want to make sure we are not missing any particular issues. We want to give our families and schools enough time to think about and make the necessary changes. Our carrier, Badger Bus Lines, also needs time to find additional drivers and attendants, which currently is very challenging across the nation. This slide details our journey in the next 4 years if our board approves us moving ahead. Note the first year of the implementation is a planning year. Then year 2, we show 3 elementary schools which move from late start to early start, 3 middle schools that move from early start to late start. And you can see that same pattern for year 3 and year 4. Please also note that there are 19 elementary schools that aren't listed here that would have a minor shift. and they would move 5 or 10 minutes to their start time and dismissal time. Please take a careful look at this plan and note the planning year, and most of our families would have 1, but many would have 2 or 3 years to plan for this change. We think that that will be really helpful in families making the change. This slide provides more detail on the work of the planning year. And I think the important point on this slide is communication is so important. We believe helping our schools and our families make this transition is key, and we will do that through a very widespread communication plan, which includes things of even like working with our employers in the area to understand the changes that we're making to better serve our adolescents. This slide shares some of the recent work we have done since the March board meeting to move this plan forward. As you can see, we've had input from many of our principals and some elementary parents, and then other key departments within MMSD that provide programming and support to our schools. We've also talked with key leaders within MMSD, our MTI leadership, and of course, Madison Metro and Badger bus lines. Once again, we provide some examples in the planning year of various work streams, and of course, communication is the top of that. And so this slide will give you some ideas of the work that we have to do to make this very complex plan from a plan to execution. We want parents, staff, schools, everyone to have the information they need. We encourage you to review the FAQ, which is accessed through a link on this site. There are also other resources available for you, such as the current research supporting later start times for students. We also encourage you to ask any further questions or provide feedback through our feedback form. We value your feedback and appreciate our community helping us with this project. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation on changing school start times. Your time and effort to understand our proposed plan and offer feedback is important to us and appreciated.